I want to share the concept of that we have a different parts of ourselves. It is it's dating from the first psychology thinking. So I can say it is Freud, famous. Then he was talking about parts. He was separating by ego, ID, and superego. Then there was Jungian therapy. He was talking about different archetypes. So there is Gestalt therapy, who is talking about different parts of ourselves. It is very popular now, IFS in therapy. It is internal family systems, the whole therapy is based on our internal family system, which means different parts of ourselves, which is talking about managers, exiles, and firefighters, who is driving our personality, and NLP, which is all about our different parts and how we want to integrate our parts to become wholeness and to have more stable and well-balanced life.
One of the great thing about this community is that the work that we do matters. And often we need that reminder because sometimes, it can feel a bit, unforgiving. So I want to remind you that the work that you do matters. Whatever that work is, wherever you are, we have people tuning in from different parts of the planet. And I know that the work that you do is making an impact. Now, as you're tuning in, as you're listening to my voice, I just want to give you a quick introduction about Motivate Community, who is the sole organizer of these discussions. Motivate Community is a dynamic collective of forward-thinking coaches and practitioners in the realm of neuro-linguistic programming. So whenever you hear we say NLP, that's neuro-linguistic programming for short, and we serve as a vibrant hub where NLP enthusiasts, which is myself and those of you in the room, and professionals converge to ignite transformative change in themselves and their clients. Now, our mission is to empower coaches with the tools and insight rooted in NLP to elevate their practice to new heights of excellence. We provide a nurturing environment where members can access cutting-edge NLP training every week to collaborate with peers and foster transformational growth. And next year, February, we'll be having our event in Bali. So if you're ready to take your coaching to another level, this is the event for you. And you can go ahead and make sure you screenshot my discount code to make sure that you're leveraging the opportunity fully. And this is going to be an immersive experience where you're going to spend the first 6 days with some very talented trainers and practitioners, where you're going to be in a like-minded community, sharpening your skill. And over the remainder of the year, you'll be joining some of those trainers online to continue your learning experience. Remember that there's limited spots available, so make sure you make your decision ASAP. We're about 3 months out already. Now, today we have with us somebody who most of you are familiar with if you've been showing up to these sessions. And if you're not, something you need to know about Darko is that he holds a university level's master's degree. As a business owner, after going through personal challenges 8 years ago, he was led and decided to dedicate his time to help people in their life's journey. Darko is a certified Gestalt therapist, and he also is a certified master practitioner, mentor, and IFC coach. Moreover, and apart from having his own coaching practice, he also works as a part of the Motivate community. And today he'll be sharing with you on a very, very important topic on the path of wholeness, exploring your inner self for emotional healing. Now, I'm super excited about this topic because recently I've been, diving my head, my eyes, and my ears into the world of emotional healing myself. just trying to learn as much as possible. So I'm very, very curious to hear what Darko has to share with us today. Darko, the floor is yours, brother.
Okay, thank you for this nice introduction. And yes, and I want to thanks to everyone who managed to come to this webinar. This is really exciting. It will be really exciting, and we are choosing to come here to develop ourselves. At the beginning, I want to do a little bit of introduction. My name is Darko. I am certified Gestalt therapist, ICF and NLP coach, mentor, and motivate community. So a few years ago, I found out that we have, as a person, we all have a different part of ourselves. So I decided to create something new, something which was not existing in myself. So started to define part of me to help, which want to help people and to be as a coach, counselor, therapist to help people to move in their life. So I do some activities. I become part of motivate community. So here I am now helping and supporting people, and also doing some webinars. So this session is going to be around 90 minutes as always. So structure of this session is first I want to give a little bit more awareness and knowledge about structure of the self. Then we are going to give a definition about wholeness and why is this important. And usually I do in my webinars, I'm doing some practical exercises so we can have a new findings and discoveries about ourselves. At the beginning, before starting the session, I want to say that our personality is driven by our needs. So this is a Maslow hierarchy of needs, which I'm following this hierarchy of needs because I think this is the most relevant thing. And as we can see, at the end of the top of the hierarchy of needs is self-actualization. So what we are doing, everything what we are doing, all our activities is guiding to self-actualization, which means desire to become the most of what we are having. So we are trying different paths, different ways to going to achieve the process of self-actualization. The structure of self. So here I have presented a picture. This is the self, and here is a different parts of ourselves. So I want to share the concept of that we have a different parts of ourselves. It is it's dating from the first psychology thinking. So I can say it is Freud, famous. Then he was talking about parts. It was he was separating by ego, ID, and superego. Then there was Jungian therapy. He was talking about different archetypes. So there is Gestalt therapy, who is talking about different parts of ourselves. It is very popular now. IFS in therapy. It is internal family systems. Who is based? The whole therapy is based on our internal family system, which means different parts of ourselves, which is talking about managers, exiles, and firefighters, who is driving our personality, and NLP, which is all about our different parts and how we want to integrate our parts to become wholeness and to have more stable and well-balanced life. So this is in general structure of the self. So at the beginning, I want to give a definition about wholeness, about our whole self. So wholeness is the main characteristic of the self. So when self is whole, it is integrated, and it is making a sense of the person, of the individual or the persona, that we have inner harmony, we have unity, we are in balance, we are feeling good, and when we are feeling integrated and whole self, then we are going to we are becoming more efficient. We are doing more things, and we are more focused on the actions. So, according to Gestalt therapy, Perl says that our personality, our person, is growing through identification or alienation of or with different parts of ourselves. That means that we are going to be, when some part of ourself is formed, we are going to self-reflect on this part. We are going to identify ourselves. We will accept this as a part of ourselves. Or maybe we can do some self-reflection, and we will say, okay, this is part of myself, but this is not longer part of myself. So it means I will go through my experience. Let's say when I was younger, I decided to study, and then I got a master degree. So at some point, I got with a master degree in education, and this part that's become part of myself. But the topic, I was studying economy, so I was going into the business, corporate development, things like that. And this is part of myself. But when I do some self-reflection, I saw that, yes, I have this part of myself, but it is not aligned with my values, because I want to help people not to go to be in organization, to develop organization, but myself is more dedicated to help and support people in their personal path. So that's how I decided to alienate this part. So I said, this is not for me, and I start to learn about topic of self-development, and that's how I start growing. So then wholeness is a long life process, and it is going through self-reflection. So we need to be self-aware of what is happening, and then accept, self-acception. We need to accept some part of ourselves in order to move forward. According to internal family systems, it has detected 8 qualities of self. So I'm talking about the whole self. So it is about curiosity. So our whole self is always curious about the thing. Then it is connectedness. It is how our inner parts of the self are connected. Then it is calm. It is courage. It is confident. The whole self is confident. It uses creativity, and the whole self is looking for clarity. Okay, just to check, does someone wants to add something to this up to now? Or maybe to add something about the self? Okay, we'll move forward. So some characteristic of ourself is that ourself is is dynamic. So our self is always changing. It is changing based on information we are gaining, based of experience we are having. It is a very dynamic, how to say, mental construction, which is always changing. It is creating a new parts. As I said, we can identify, we can align some part, and then we recreate a new self. We have a new findings. Also, it is going through when we are having a coaching session, and if during the coaching session we have some insight, then we are going to insert in our self, and then we are recreate a new self. Then other characteristic of self is that our self always have tendency to be in balance and all parts to be aligned. It means that all parts of ourselves needs to work toward one goal. If some part is not working according to our alignment, to our idea, that this part needs to be analyzed and see what is happening. And I also want to say that sometimes there are conflicting parts of ourselves, and if we have these conflicting parts of ourselves, then they are causing some tension within the self, which when we are tense, it leads to some unwanted behavior, like procrastinated, like being in stress, and things like that. So it is somehow, how to say, some part of myself wants to achieve something, but also there is a part of myself which wants to take rest to take a rest and relaxation at this moment. So it can be ready for the next activity. Okay. So talking about conflicting parts, I think this is something. Okay. So when we are feeling, as I said, some parts when they are in conflict in their intention, in their role, they are causing inner tension. So when we are feeling inner tension, we are having we want to release to this tension. So it could be unconscious signal to relief, and so it is good. For example, in my practice, when I feel this kind of tension, then I tend to do maybe to schedule some coaching session, maybe to do some journaling, because I like a lot of to journal and to write and to find what is happening within myself. So the other part, when they are in conflict, it could be that they are not aligned. They are not aligned with our vision, with our purpose in the life. So if they are not aligned, they need to, again, they cause anxiety and depression, and again, they need to be to do some self-reflection, then to be accepted or refuse it, or we need to work through this. Then if we have if there are some conflicting parts of ourselves which are present for some period in the life, they can cause a chronic stress, and which can cause a long-term stress, which is not good. One of the way, if there are conflicting parts, how we are going to cope with them is using drug, using alcohol. We are using this as a coping mechanism because, as you know, substance use is causing altered state in the mind, and so we can suppress some part when use substance, and other part will come out. and this is how we are coping. And there is when there is conflicting parts, there is not so good behavior because it causes a little bit confusion. We are missing clarity, so we are not doing one constant thing to achieve the goal, but trying this, trying this, trying this. Or maybe we are, when there is some conflicting parts, they are stopping, they are reducing our good behavior, they are reducing our activities. So we are resisting. And we are forced to find a way to align these parts, and because it is our obligation to make ourselves feel good. Okay, so on the next slide, I want to share some parts of ourselves. So this is I tend to make it more visually. So this is the part of ourselves, and I defined this critic as a part of ourselves, pessimistic as a part of ourselves, saboteur. Then we have optimistic part of ourselves, supporter part of ourselves. So yes, at the beginning I said there are different theories about parts of ourselves. So like I said, internal family systems, or let's say transaction analysis theory, it separates in parent, child, and adult. So they're all of the different theories make distinctions between the parts. But in NLP, we are giving, yes, this is NLP solution. So in NLP, we are giving opportunity. We are giving yes, it is opportunity. I'm missing the word. That's why I'm thinking. We are giving right to the person to choose. So it is the part cannot be defined. This is this part. This is this part. But the person can choose how he will give the name of that part. The main point is that we are aware that we have some part of ourselves, but we are the one who is going to give the name of this part. So with this thing, we are also achieving some ownership, because I defined, yes, there is a part of myself, and what is how I will call this part? I will call critic, Darko critic. So I am owner of this part, and I can choose what to do this part with this part of myself. Usually in my practice, I'm using this theory that our whole personality is consists of different parts. So as I said, I'm giving the right to the customer that he can choose how he will name his part of the self, and then we are going to work on this part. So some of the parts which are defined up to now from the client, he can say this is part of myself is parent. I will call it a parent. So he is saying this part is always like parent. When we are teaching the child, is criticize the children when they are going to do not good thing, but sometimes we are going to give a good thing to support the children, to encourage towards something. Then it could be some part of ourselves that is called boss. So he is always making directions. So you need to do this, you need to make this, you need to give directions what to do. So some of my clients, they can name a student let's say I have part of myself, and how can you call it? This is a student. So this part is always ready to study. And instead of doing the work he needs to do, he's going to study it. Maybe this part will going to make conflict. And also, many times they are saying, I'm a victim. So usually this part of ourselves, which we can label as victim, it is created in during some traumatic experiences. And we are aligned ourselves with this part of victim, and we are doing as a victim, but we need to know that this is only a part of ourselves, and as well as there is some victim part of ourselves, also there is some part who is doing the things, who is a survivor, let's say, things like that. Okay, so this was I want to say. As I said before, our self is a dynamic mental structure. And part of ourself is created all the time. So it means if I did now when I'm talking, it is creating part of myself who is presenter on webinar. If I decide that I'm going to do something else, let's say I want to change my career, I need to start learning and to develop a new part of myself. So all the time we are creating some new part, and it is, I will again say, it is our responsibility to watch on our parts and to recognize, to accept this part or to refuse this part. Some parts, when we are going to analyzing the parts, we can find that some parts are very useful and they are contributing a lot into the whole self. But also we can find that some parts which we are carrying it ourselves, they may be outdated. What I'm thinking, what I'm referring with, I can say outdated. Let's say as a person, we are developing through the time, so at one period we are children, then we are becoming adult, then we are becoming parents and things like that. So what will happen if we our children have behavior, have typical behavior, have typical role, and this is important for that period of life. But if let's say we are adult and we are carrying this part of child, it is we are behaving, but it is outdated. So we need to put away, or maybe just take some parts, because it is not appropriate to be an adult. As an adult, you have another responsibilities. You have you need to make decisions, but as a child, you do not have that kind of responsibilities. So we need to when we are working in with parts integration, we need to say this to this part, that we are acknowledging this part because it is really part of ourselves, but it is not useful. It was useful at some point in our life, but it is not useful at this point. And or let's say when we are student, when as a student, when we are creating this part of ourselves, the role of the student is to learn and to discover. But when we become parent, we have a different role. We need to take care about children. We need to take job. And if we stick to the role of a student, this outdated role, that means that we are only learning but not taking the other part, which is earning money, earning salary, take care about the family. So this is what I'm referring to outdated part of ourselves. And also there are some parts which are forcefully created. I said this like traumatic experience. So we are living, life is happening. Not all circumstances in life are good. There are good circumstances, there is good situations, bad situation. Bad situation can cause a traumatic experience. So we are not choosing to be traumatic experience is happening fast. It is happening fast. It is creating the part in ourselves, and this part of ourselves has its role. Its role, its behavior, and usually what is happening is that we are aligning with this traumatic experience. Maybe we will create some victim. We are aligning with this part, but this is not with this part of ourselves is forcefully created. We are not choosing to create it, but it is forcefully created, and we need to go through the self-reflection, seeing what is the purpose of this part, and then to see what we are going to do with this part. I can share from my experience. Once I was working through my traumatic experience. So up to the point which I start working, I was acting from the position, from the role of victim, like everything is happening to me. But once I have go through the process, I found out that yes, I have traumatic experience, but this is part of myself, but there are also other parts of myself. So I start using this part of myself as supporter, something that give me courage, something that give me strength. In terms, I managed to survive this traumatic experience, so I can survive other things which are not so easy. So yes, it was in general about self. So I would like now to first to ask, is there some questions regarding this?
I think what's coming up for me as you were sharing, you made me think of the idea of an altered ego. And sometimes in sport, you'll see, certain athlete would create, not even just sport, even celebrities or performers, they would have alter ego when they go on stage. Is that a bit similar to the idea of, these different parts of self? Is there any relationship there, or is it something completely different? I'm curious about that.
Can you repeat? Can you ask again?
And no problem. What I'm thinking is that when you start sharing, this reminds me of the idea of having an altered ego. Sometimes athletes or performers, they would have these altered ego when they are performing. Yeah, for example, for the Kobe Bryant fans, Kobe Bryant always call himself Black Mamba, or Beyonce, Sasha Fierce, and that's like an altered state that they're in when they're performing. Like, is that like another part of them that they are portraying when they need to perform? Is it similar to that? As you're talking about the victim or the brother, is there any relationship between the idea of having an altered ego and these different parts of ourselves? That's my question.
Yes, of course there is a connection. So it is also when you are saying this, it reminds me to Tony Robbins. So Tony Robbins, he's always sharing that he's doing some preparing before going to do some presentation. So he's pumping his ego. That means that in a normal situation, when we are not causing this alter ego, or when we are not priming the situation, we are not performing good. So we are taking other roles. Just a second. I don't know what's happening. Okay, so yes, we are giving other roles. So yeah, I can agree with you that sometimes we are giving this alter ego, and we are giving this alter ego, then we are performing better. Yes, I can agree with this.
Just a question. So would that be the part of us ourselves that we find when we dig deep to find that motivation or that certain characteristic or that ego?
Yes. So when you're saying there, you are right. There is part of ourselves which is responsible for motivation, because motivation is it is a process. It is a psychological process which is happening all the time. But usually there are parts of ourselves which are conflicting, which are not allowing a process of motivation to happening. And it is, how to say, interrupting the process of motivation. So we need to be aware. When we are aware about our part of ourselves, then we can choose our activities.
So, and that comes with the part of self created, where some parts are useful and some parts are outdated. So we are relearning, unlearning, relearning,
yes,
to adapt to this new self.
New self, new circumstances, new self. There is it was not part of presentation, but our self is occurring. It is always ourself. It is always adjusting, but the self, it is which part of self which show in the moment depends on the environment. So it means just to complete the sentence, it depends on the environment, and depends on the environment we are in. We are giving another role. We are using other characteristic of ourselves. So it is happening all the time and at every moment. For example, now I'm presenting. I'm doing webinar. So my role is presenter, and I'm using some of my characteristics to watch the audience, to manage the slides. So this part of myself and these virtues are present now. But as soon as I finish the presentation, I will go in another room and I will meet my children, let's say. So that show up my part of parent. So I need to use my understanding to see how he's going, to check his progress, things like that. After that, let's say I will go if I need to learn something, then it will come into first plan, the part of myself who is student. So that I need to use my ability to focus, my ability to take notes, my perception, and ability to put into the memory. So that is in general how the self is coming, and how we are using different parts of ourselves. And of course, this is positive way. This is positive way, and negative way if we are not aware, if we are not present in the moment. And then some part of ourselves will come and will say you are not going good, and we'll start doing things like that, and they will put us into other.
And that's where you're digging deep.
Yes.
All right. Thanks.
Yes. Okay. So next, I would like to ask you to take some time. Take 2 minutes. I will give you 2 minutes, so you can make a list of 5 parts of yourself which you can recognize at this moment. So I would like you to take a moment, take a deep breath to put a focus on yourself. Based on this learning experience, based on this presentation, based on these learnings, we know that our whole self consists of different parts. So just use your intuition and allow to show up here and now 5 parts of yourself which you can recognize at this moment. Okay. I want also to share that we are at every moment we are aware for some of our parts, but also there are parts of self we are not aware of. So they can causing some behavior, or they can causes some emotional states, but we are not aware which part of ourself is doing this. So that's why I'm saying which 5 parts can you recognize at this moment. Also, it is very important to highlight that sometimes we can, let's say, we can have picture of, let's say, 10 parts, but if I say 5 parts, you need to choose which part is going to show up, how to choose from that 5 parts. Or sometimes maybe you there are some clients which I work with, and if I can say make a list of, let's say, 5 parts, or now this is for exercise for presentations thing, but if I say 10 parts, maybe they can find 5 parts and then needs to dig deeper into themselves to find 5 more parts which were not aware before the exercise. Okay. So next thing I want to share is this is about in a relationship. So all the parts in ourselves are somehow related. So when doing and going through part work, so we are exploring how is, let's say, because I have done this creation of part, I suggested this. How does critic, let's say, is connected with supporter? How they are all intercreated, and how they are supporting each other. So at some point, saboteur can they are all into some relationship. So we can see that critic can support, at some way can be in some relationship with supporter with critic, or so it becomes a whole constellation of the of relationship within ourselves. And when we are doing self-reflection, we are always needing to explore what is happening within ourselves. So I just don't know. Oh, okay. Okay. So now because we know about different parts of self and about the relationship of self, I want to guide you through an exercise, and to see how these parts are created. So in the previous exercise, as I shared, I guide you to explore, to find 5 different parts of self. And so furthermore, I want to guide you to see to separate one part of yourself, and then to see how it is interconnected with other parts of yourself. So I would like to ask you for a moment to be focused on your breathing. And as you are focused on your breathing, just to try to select one part of the self. Usually, this part has a significant role in the life, and it is dominant at this moment. And as you're choosing this part of yourself, you can ask following question to this part. What is the intention of this part in my life? How this part contributes to my life. Can you notice when this part is becoming dominant? Is there some triggers? And what emotions are associated with this part? Does anyone want to share about the dominant part which is occurring right now? Daniel, I can ask you, can you share about which dominant part occurs?
I'm happy to share. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, please,
Okay.
Bandler.
Thank you for what came for me right now is a dreamer in me. As I
Yes.
connected to that part of me, which is quite dominant in many instances. So it's a bit like the energy of the magician that pop through, and coming to when it becomes dominant is when I see issues around me. So this is where they say, oh, hey, I can make a change there. And this sort of gives me motivation and energy to act and make good change, make good things happen. And emotions associated with this part of me is ability. I feel able, I feel capable of doing the right things to bring the changes that's needed.
Okay. How is this part interacted with other parts of yourself?
It brings some balance because, for example, in the face of adversity or when I notice there are issues. So I could feel like a victim or like a powerless child. But this is where this aspect of me, this part of me comes in and sort of gives me more flexibility and more choice as to what I can do and choose to do.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Daniel, can you share?
Yes, and that's for me is coaching, become the coaching part of me. That's becoming dominant over the last few days. Throughout the whole time I've been studying NLP, it's really stood out to me, and it's integrated with other parts of me as a parent, as a co-worker, as a friend. And it's something that I work on when I'm interacting and when I'm also by myself. I play with it like the old equalizers. You got the bass, you got the treble, you gotta make the sound right for that certain type of speaker. That's how I am feeling with this coaching side of me, is that I'm turning it up a bit, turning it up a notch, because I've dug down deep, I've searched for what I needed, and I've pulled back up, which, as Coach Dina was saying about Black Mamba, Sasha Fierce, when they become that certain character, it brings out that certain characteristics, so to say, of that part of me, the coaching part of me, which is something, as you mentioned, that when you go to see your kids, you're in the parent role. So yeah, for me right now is a coaching, because that's where I've been more focused on lately.
Mhm.
And that part of me stands out. It's dominant right now.
I want to ask how is how much of your whole self took this part at this moment?
It took my whole self, everything inside of me to get to where I am right now, mentally, emotionally,
Mhm.
and spiritually.
Yes.
It's a purpose that's driving me towards becoming all that I can be, why I asked earlier about unlearning what I've learned, relearning to become this new thinking, thought patterns
Mhm.
due to the environment that I'm going into.
I hear you. And Bernadette also shared, can you recognize when this part becomes dominant? Is there some trigger or you are always in this state?
I see when I see injustice and inequality.
Mm. Yes. And Daniel, Daniel also, when this part of coaching becomes dominant, is there some trigger?
Yes, it is where I am at the moment. As I've mentioned to you for the last few months, and where I need to get to. And with that being said, is the purpose behind everything that's going to change everything. So my purpose is to change lives. And I know I can with my experience, NLP, and the mentors that I have to help me along the way.
Okay. Someone else want to share?
I can go ahead and share
Yeah,
mine.
please.
I think just like Danielle, yeah, I think my coaching type has been pretty dominant. Yeah, and for me that usually comes up when what is it? I think I've always been that helper. Yeah, so it's a bit connected to that part of myself as well, thinking that I'm the one who should solve these problems, you know, being an older brother in a family as well. So whenever I see like, okay, there's an opportunity for me to help, I think that's when my coach usually comes out. What else did you ask? You asked a question about if it's like how much of the whole of myself has that taken up. Interestingly, not my whole self, and I think it's something that I think when we become coaches, we need to be able to manage pretty well, especially if you're in a relationship with other people. You don't want to always be coaching because that can get annoying, especially in your personal relationships. So it's something I've learned to use as a tool when it's needed to be used. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, that's one for me. However, it's a part of myself that I'm very proud of because it's really empowering knowing that I have this skill where I don't have to have all the answers. However, I can bring about such transformation in another individual. So that's pretty empowering.
Yes. And is there what is triggering? Is there some? Have you noticed that it is happening in some situation, coming this part, or it is always present with you?
Most certainly, like when I see an opportunity to solve a problem, yeah, if someone comes to me with something they're struggling with, yeah, that's usually an opportunity. Or if I'm in a conversation and then someone start mentioning something that they're maybe having difficulties with, I think that's a big trigger for me. So sometimes I need to try and stop myself from going into coaching mode because even though someone come with an issue, it doesn't mean I need to coach them. I can just be like any other human being and just listen instead of coaching.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a big trigger for me.
Yes, wonderful. So it is good. I can see that you are aware that there is coaching part which is important, but also there is another part of the self. And sometimes it is good to give a part to other parts of the self because behind coaching or behind professional side of ourselves, there are also other sides in the life, other aspects of the life, which we need to put attention to. So we need to make balance, and this balance is happening as you share when we are aware about ourselves, and when we are doing self-reflection. Okay, so okay, so I want, before moving further, I want to make a short review of what was happening, what I was talking about up to now. We can, I've shared and we conclude that our whole self is created of different parts of ourselves. So this is important to have in account when working with clients or when working in self-development. So not too general, because usually we are tending to generalization. For example, if I feel at this moment negative, I can say I feel some negativity in the moment. I have some negative talk. I'm saying I'm negative. So I can say part of myself is negative. That gives me opportunity to work on another part, to put attention, so I can make myself into the balance, to make the wholeness of myself, and to feel better. Then what I have shared is that our self is constantly changing and it is evolving, which is also one of the characteristics of ourselves. So we are constantly choosing what we are going to do and how we are going to change our of the self, because it is dynamic. It is not a static part of ourselves. And then I have shared about relationship between parts of the self, and shared that it is they are all connected. They are all interaction. It is like an inner constellation between the parts. So there are some theories or some approaches which are working. Let's say they can make at the beginning of the session, they will make separation of different parts, so awareness about different parts of ourselves, and then we'll set up a stage where we can put every part on the chair and then make interaction between each part, which is very useful. What is important to share is that we can influence on the relationship between the parts, and we are also responsible to keep the balance between our parts. So we can, like in this exercise we do before, we are aware about this part, but also we can we find out that it is good to have this part, but maybe sometimes we need to make some influence and to change our attention, not to allow the whole part to dominate the self. But maybe in this situation, I need you, I will ask this part to support me. Or you'll say, okay, I will just listen now, not to be coached, but I will just listen, not coaching. And we are also responsible to keep in balance. We are talking about coaching now, so it is a good emotion. But what will happen if we are talking about anxiety? So if anxiety become dominant part, we will be we need, it is our responsible to calm down this part, to make it is okay. I know you are here. Just lower your attention so I can continue move forward. Otherwise, it will stop our progress. It will interrupt our development process. So that's why it's important to know that we can influence on different parts, and that is why that is all coaching and all learning process about. It is how to influence on the relationship between the parts. Again, I will come back to anxiety or maybe trauma, because I'm also holding traumatic experience. So I can say, okay, I can see you. You need to show up, but now it is not time for that. Things like that, just to keep balance, to make this part satisfied. To maybe I will give some space for this part to show up into the reality. Sometimes I will say it is not time now. I need to be more professional at this moment. So it is our responsibility to keep the balance between the parts. Otherwise, it is not good for our mental health and our whole self. And at the end, I want also to share now that now, because we are aware that our self is consists of different parts, and we know that we have influence on other parts, also we can generate a new part of the self. So, okay. So in general, this is not very not much information, and not much talking about generating new part of ourselves. At least the information I have, I am looking for. We are working. It is internal family system. We are working which part is not good. They are interacting each other, but there is also another part of psychology which we can create a part, which means I want to have this part within me, but I do not have it at the moment. I can remind myself few years ago, I completed NLP training, and I say, I get an insight. I say, okay, this thing is working. It is obvious that I'm creating changing. It is obvious I'm moving. But how I can now how I can transfer my knowledge, and I do my self-reflection, and I saw that I will need to create a part which will be more connected with people. So up to that moment, I was, how to say, I was engineer mind. So I was thinking only how to create something. I have knowledge, but not have interaction with people, knowledge about interaction with people. And I decided to create a part. I decided to go to Gestalt therapy. So that's how I have created a completely new part, which was not existing before. It was happening when I was 40 years old. So up to 40 years, I didn't know about this part of myself that can be created and how it will evolve. So taking in mind now that we are able to create a new part of ourselves, which maybe can have a balance of everything, I would like to invite you to create a new part of ourselves. So in my thinking, my generalization, I call this part supporter, which will support our personal development process. But however, because we have opportunity and we have a right to choose how we will call this part, we can name it, label the part as we want. So I want to focus a little bit again within yourself, and just to see which part do you want to develop that will support your personal development process. It will help you in the life. And as you are focusing in yourself, just I want you to notice in which area of your life do you want to be this part focused on. And when you are going to choose the area of your life, become aware, check what quality do you want this part to bring in this area. What is the specific goal of this part? And as you are aware about creating this new part, just think about how will you reinforce and nurture this new part of yourself on a daily basis. And when you will be ready, you can come here and now and please share if you want about the new part of the self.
Well, I don't know if I created a new part of myself or maybe become aware of a part that was already there. But I think one of the things that I've been trying to do is to have a really learner's approach, to especially new things. Yeah, so that way, I won't be that hard on myself when I'm not getting it. So to be able to really learn things quickly and be able to teach it as quick as possible as well. So the part that I thought about was to be that proactive learner. Yeah, so when I think proactive learner, I'm thinking about not somebody who only learns it quick, but to be able to teach it, yeah, within the same amount of time as I'm learning it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And as I said, it is not always to create or we are not always aware about our parts, but sometimes we need to go through process to come this part which was forgotten at some point in the life. So it was there, but you got reminded. So it is very good to be reminded of something. Yes. Thank you for sharing. It's wonderful. Someone else wants to share? Is there something he created new or maybe remember for some part of the self? Okay. Okay, then I will. Okay, so yeah, so in general, that was my presentation, my intention to share about different parts about our ability, our responsibility to create a new part of ourselves and a little bit to juggle between the parts. So the main thing in NLP, one of the things in NLP is part integration. So we are going to learn about this process more on our next retreat, but Dino will talk more about this. From my side, I want to share that I can give 2 free individual sessions to someone who is willing to work through process of self-integration as a part of our promotional activities. So my WeChat is Darko. Here is my information. If you're willing, you can contact me and then we can work through the process of